Hi, I'm Jacob, and I'm going to be discussing the difference between Proposition 227 versus Proposition 58. Now, 227 was passed in the 1990s, and Proposition 58 was passed in, I believe, 2017, 2018. Now, both of these propositions, the main focus that they were trying to talk, or the main topic that they were focusing on, was English for non-native English speakers. What made them so different is just how they approached it, even though both were tackling the exact same thing. When it came to Proposition 227, they gave an expectation that most people would be sent into the same class where they're learning, basically only learning English with a very limited bilingual approach unless some parents signed a waiver. And these students were required to learn the language in about 1 year, which in hindsight was very impractical because you can't expect someone to learn a language that quickly. I just think a lot of people were coming from various backgrounds. It was believed that if we did an only English approach, then people would be able to learn the language very quickly and they would have no trouble. And people believe that doing some sort of bilingual approach would mean that they wouldn't learn as fast. However, what ended up happening was due to this English only approach, not only were people left behind, but it made a lot of people uncomfortable because they had come from a different background where they had another language that they're used to. And instead of taking a bilingual approach, it was now monolingual, which meant that they're expected to know fully English and almost in a sense leave their other language behind, which was not working. Now, this is where Proposition 58 comes in, because with this one, they kind of made things a lot more lenient, where people were given as much time as needed to do their lingual approach, and also people were actually taught in a bilingual fashion. This meant that people would learn English along with their home or native spoken language. And in most cases, this was shown to be easier because a lot of those connections, as we discussed in our discussions, could be made as some topics would be spoken in English and other topics could be spoken in their native language. And additionally, when making those connections, even in school and in learning, being able to do it in the native language could have made things a lot easier. Additionally, there was never any time limit anymore. Well, I guess another thing that could be mentioned is with Proposition 227, they made it seem as if English was like the national language of the United States, whereas with Proposition 58, those parent waivers had gone away, and there's a lot more community outreach or community insight brought into how these language centers or these language classes should be taken, because at the end of the day, the community won't evolve and grow better if not everyone is able to communicate with each other in the proper way. But with more community input, now with Proposition 58, these students can take as much time as they need to learn, and there's various levels and various classes that allow them to give them the time and the proper support that they need to learn English in a bilingual fashion. So then they can talk with, maybe back home, they can still use their native language, but then when they come to school, once they've graduated and promoted from those classes, they can speak in English in a way that allows them to learn coherently with other students and with the rest of the class.